My dad was my hero in more than one way. He was a wonderful storyteller, and there are so many stories about him. Here is one that is my personal favorite. My dad is the youngest of 9 siblings. He had 6 brothers and 2 sisters. He loved his siblings, and as the youngest sibling, he was loved and pampered. One thing that me and him share is our short temper. As a young man, my dad was known to be volatile. When he was 19, his second older sis, let's call her C, was married to a military man. He was mostly posted on the border. We are Indians. This meant my Auntie C was living with her in-laws like many women in India still do. The problem was her older brother-in-law. Let's call him A for a-hole. Was a goon, an extortionist, an abuser, and yes, a rapist. He was scary. He was known for being physically imposing at 6'8", well-built, and was unbeatable in fights. No woman was safe when he was around. After my Aunt C got married to her husband, the nasty Biela set his sight on her. He began harassing her, forcing her to sleep with him. The family did nothing to protect her. This went on for weeks. She was tired of fighting and was totally shattered emotionally. One day she found the courage to talk about it to one of her older nephews who was 18 at the time. He went home to my dad and broken down about how C was suffering and how her honor and life is at risk. This enraged my dad. But he realized that he wouldn't be able to take down the monster that A is all by himself. He gathered his friends, his older nephews, and together hatched a plan. Actually, they had no plan. The plan was to beat the crap out of to send him a message. But they wouldn't be able to do this when he was sober, so they waited for the evening when he was usually drunk. My dad and his friends drank as well, for liquid courage. They then waited for him in the dark roads of their village, which still had sketchy electricity. Then they pounced on him as soon as they had the chance. It was 6 young, drunk fools against this one mountain of a guy. While drunk, he was still able to fight well. It also had a bunch of minions who, unknown to my dad, were right behind him. It became a free-for-all fight. My dad, drunk and in the frenzy of the fight, grabbed a piece of wood he found on the road and hit her with all his might, straight on the head. And then my dad and his friends ran off because someone had called for backup and these young lads weren't sober enough to come up with a plan or a sane idea. Dad somehow made it home, showered, and slept. Next day, he told his mom they got into a fight and crap went down. As he was telling his mom what happened, Dad was informed by his brother that cops were looking for him. Grandma told Dad to lay low for a bit. Unfortunately, A made it to the hospital and was able to give a statement. Dad was on run for a bit but later surrendered because, according to him, I was tired of eating crappy food. They honest to God surrendered to cops and demanded a good meal. The case was dismissed and it did manage to live, but did not survive long. The injury my dad gave him chased him to his grave in a few months. This story is something Dad always liked to tell. He has zero remorse for what happened to a cause. In his words, not a single woman was harmed or abused in their village after this incident. A user named Kangaroo Pack 3727 expressed condolences for the loss of the original posters, OP, father, praising him as a wonderful man, a great neighbor, and a friend who cared deeply for others. They remarked on the father's righteous anger in protecting his sister-in-law's honor and life, noting his actions potentially spared other women from harm. The user suggested that OP can honor their father's memory by sharing his story and supporting organizations that combat violence against women, as it aligns with what the father would have wanted. OP expressed gratitude, mentioning the difficulty of accepting their father's passing, who had a significant presence and was an exceptional storyteller. They felt the loss of a sense of security. The comment discusses the irony of someone turning themselves in to the authorities due to dissatisfaction with the food they were eating, questioning what they expected prison food to be like. The original poster, OP, Wolfius Back in Black, shares a conversation with their dad, who jokes about never having been to prison. He explains that during their time on the run, they often had little to no food. These individuals, accustomed to eating a lot, turned themselves in because they thought they would either be released on bail and return home or be in prison where they would be guaranteed at least 2 meals a day.